God, Goddess, Allah, Jehovah, Tetragrammaton, the light, the I am that I am, Wakantanka. It doesn't really matter what it is that you use as a name to identify the concept of all that is. But it is important to understand that all of these names represent different archetypal expressions, different angles and different perspectives of the same one thing, so that all of your apparently separate religions, no matter how they present themselves, no matter how many symbols they use to represent the idea of God or aspects of God, are all talking about the same thing, but from different points of view that serve the uniqueness of the culture in which they live. But the idea is to understand that it all comes from source, it all is within the light. And the light, source, all that is, expresses itself in all these ways in order for there to be sufficient symbols for all the different cultural experiences on your planet, all the different individual experiences, even within a culture on your planet. As we have said, the misinterpretation of what you have called, in one particular Judeo-Christian culture, the Ten Commandments, are really the messages that were delivered in a very different way that have been misunderstood, misquoted, because of the level of understanding that existed in the culture at the time. And the so-called First Commandment, I am the Lord your God, thou shalt not have false gods before me, really was a mistranslation and a misunderstanding of the idea that really would be more accurately represented as, I am that I am, and all reflections are me, therefore none can be false before me, for I am all that is. So the idea is to understand that all that is presents itself in a variety of archetypal forms, the father energy, the mother energy, God, Goddess, all that is, as you sometimes say. And these serve various functions and translate into your reality as, shall we say, smaller representations of all that is that are specifically designed to deal with specific cultural differences, specific ideology differences, specific individual interpretations and differences. Fundamentally speaking, the archetypes are all that is way of making sure that no matter what angle you approach all that is from, you will have a symbol and a representation that can serve your unique perspective. They are all true parts of all that is, because there's nothing outside of all that is. Anything you can experience as an archetypal representation, or even when you assume it is the entire representation of all that is true and accurate, because all that is everything that can possibly be. There's no outside to it. There is nothing that is not it. So it doesn't really matter how you relate, what relationship you form with the idea of any presentation of all that is, any idea or formation of the idea of God, be it the old man with the long beard, be it the idea of the Virgin Mother, be it the idea of a rock or a mountain. It matters not to all that is, because all that is all those things, and more, beyond even your imagining. For all that is in its archetypal presentations also forms the symbols that are relatable to not only your particular human culture, but many cultures throughout the cosmos, throughout infinity, anything and everything being a reflection of all that is, has its own way of understanding the presentation of archetypes from source, has its own representations that make sense to their cultures. So there are an infinite variety of presentations of all that is, but it is still the same one thing fundamentally. But as you expand your consciousness, and start to realize that all of these are different faces of the same thing. As many people on your planet have expressed, the 9 billion names of God are still representative of the same one thing in the holographic, multidimensional presentation that it can use to present itself. Then you start to allow those differences to sort of melt away, except for the parts you feel you need, and allow yourself to have a direct relationship, more directly, with Source, without necessarily needing it to be anything but the light. And in that light, you feel the vibration of the eternal existence that it is, the vibration you translate as the unconditional love of God. This is the vibrational frequency of existence itself. It is unconditionally supporting, unconditionally loving. And the idea is that there is no judgment in this. There is no expression of the negative in this. So even when individuals in different cultures might express or experience the idea of negative or demonic experiences, you have to understand this is still all part of God. Because there is the positive, there is the negative, and there is the neutral. These are the major archetypal energies, and they can be expressed in a variety of ways that can serve either positive or negative means. So allow yourselves to lessen the differences, in a sense, use them in whatever way serves you, use them in whatever way allows you to learn the lessons you need to learn, for the agreements that you chose to experience, the challenges that you created for yourself in this life to learn who you are and grow in various situations. Again, using the positive and negative mechanisms in a variety of ways. For ultimately, again, when you return to spirit, when you remember more of who you are, it will just be an experience. You will experience the archetypal expression of your life, which is another archetypal expression, because each and every one of you is unique, and you form your own archetypes for others to connect to draw upon, to download information from and experience from, the archetype that you are of all that is, because everyone is all that is, experiencing itself as all of the individualities that you believe yourself to be. So you are also an archetype of all that is, an archetype of God, experiencing itself in a unique way, knowing itself from a unique perspective. There will be more about this concept in a future transmission, in a way that you can more readily apply in your physical reality experience. But for now, just let it settle into you that every single thing you see, every single thing you experience, in a sense, is an archetypal presentation of all that is, the trees, the rocks, the streams, the animals, the sky, the moon, the stars, the earth itself, are all different variations and different expressions of all that is of Source, of the light. And you, yourself, are also an archetype of God. We thank you for allowing us to share this concept with you this day of your time. And we ask now in return, how may we be of service to you? You may begin, if you wish, with your questions and dialogue.
Hey, Bashar. My name is Justin, and I'm up here in beautiful and rainy Salem, Oregon. It's just south of Portland. And my question is really about what you talk about in finding passion and pleasure all the time. In the middle of obviously the pandemic and building my business in the last few years, and really working hard to keep my family afloat during all of these uncertain times, I feel like a lot of my life has just become work. And even the things that I felt like I was once passionate about before, I don't feel as excited about them anymore. And so I'm having a hard time really latching onto the concept, because I feel like I'm in a weird kind of a void of a space. So any guidance that you can give on helping identify my passion and really really focusing on that would be just an amazing help. Thank you so much, Bashar, and hope you have a great day.
Well, as we say again, the idea of acting on your passion and recognizing it does not have to be an overarching project or a career. If you find that you have, or the feeling comes that you have lost your passion or lost your way, refocus simply by looking at everyday events. There are things in your life, simple things, everyday things, taking a walk, reading a book, speaking with your family, having simple, creative ways of exploring things together that are representative of passion, as long as they contain more excitement than anything else, any other choice, then that's representative of your passion at the moment. Act on it first before any other choice. If it contains even just a little bit more attractiveness or excitement than any other choice on a simple everyday level, just act on it first, taking it as far as you can until you can take it no further. Then look for the next thing. Always make sure you're not the one dampening the excitement, but that it wanes naturally, which is the synchronistic indication that you need to look for the next thing that contains even just a little bit more attractiveness, curiosity, or excitement or passion than anything else, and act on that next. And again, it can be simple. You might just feel like, well, the most exciting thing I can do is eat a meal. The most exciting thing I can do is tell someone a story. The most exciting thing I can do is take a walk. Allow yourself to let go of the passion needing to represent itself in any particular grandiose form, and just allow yourself to act on the simple excitements that come with everyday things. That's how you begin, and then it will snowball. But again, you have to look for the times and places where you are willing to allow yourself to act on your excitements, to allow your excitement to prove to you over time that it can support you, instead of holding on to things you believe you need for support right now that aren't exciting to you. Again, as always, you don't need to let go of the things you believe you need to support you right now if they are not going to allow yourself to believe that your excitement can do the same thing. So don't let go of those things you're doing that are not exciting if you believe you need them for support. But over time, give your excitement a chance to prove to you it can also support you by taking whatever time you can take to act on them. And the easiest way to do that is by doing the simple things. And then let it build. Let it snowball into something bigger and bigger. And let synchronicity provide you with more time in an easy way before synchronicity responds to your wish for more time in a more challenging way. Because many people, let's say they're doing a job, for example, that they are not really excited about, and they keep wishing for more time to do what excites them, and suddenly find themselves getting fired. So the idea is, now they feel adrift. But the idea is they could have been practicing their excitement in the time they had, giving the excitement time to prove that it could support you so you can make an easier transition from what you don't prefer to what you do, rather than suddenly and abruptly finding yourself afloat, as you say, in the idea that you were holding on to something longer than you needed to, but still pushing for the idea of finding your passion. Well, something has to come to a head at some point, and if you refuse to allow for your excitement to prove it can support you over a longer period of time and an easier path for you, then you might come up against that moment where suddenly everything has to immediately change in order for you to finally get the point that you really need to start relying on your passion to replace the support that you were experiencing by doing something that isn't who you truly are.
The question is about contemporary classical music. Mozart, Beethoven, and many composers were misunderstood in their time for their musical innovations. Today, the modern classical music is even much more dissonant, discordant, strident, shrill, sometimes even ear-splitting. Is it that the contemporary classical music is turning to an abstract, mental, neurotic construction, or is it that contemporary classical music is going to a higher frequency of vibration which is difficult to comprehend and to adjust from our planet and our human ears? Thank you so much, Bashar. You are a tremendous inspiration in my life. Goodbye.
The question you are asking, the answer to that is both. There are things that are representative of realities that are splitting off, that are more disharmonious and discordant, and there are realities where higher frequencies are creating more harmony and representative of an upliftment of energy and vibrational states. Now, that doesn't mean that discordant music now and then can't be applied for positive purposes. So it may not completely be eliminated, even from the reality where things are becoming more harmonious and integrated. And it doesn't mean that harmonies can't be utilized even in some of the discordant realities that might be reflective of the notes that you are saying are more strident. So you have to kind of take it on a case-by-case basis, but in the overall sense, yes, you may find that certain realities and individuals that might be experiencing more disharmony and discord within themselves might relate more easily to the idea of the discordant music, but it might be capable of being utilized as a guiding light and a reminder, or a guiding sound if you wish, and a reminder of the discord that may exist within themselves if they choose to use it that way. But the basic and simple answer is both are true. Are you there?
Hi, sorry, Bashar, I am here.
All right, good day, good day.
Good day, Ha'a too, and thank you very much for this opportunity.
Thank you for the interaction. Please proceed.
Thank you. Thank you for the technique, the meditation you gave at the beginning there.
Well, I haven't given the meditation yet.
Indeed,
Well, I've only
yeah,
told you the components of it. But yes,
of course.
you're welcome.
So one of my questions is, I find it challenging to actually act on my passion, to live my passion.
Which is what?
I find it sometimes challenging to know. Excuse me?
You say to act on your passion, which is what? Can you be specific?
Well, in any given circumstance, and more generally in terms of things like creative pursuits or...
Oh, all right. But it's actually quite nonsensical, and I actually don't believe you can't do it, because you're doing it right now. We assume that you're having this conversation because this particular action contained some degree of excitement for you more than any other option at this moment. Am I correct?
Absolutely.
So you can do it, and you are doing it. It's just that you have a definition that makes it seem more difficult than it needs to be. Please do remember, and we'll get to the other stuff in a moment, but please do remember, when we talk about acting on your passion, it doesn't have to be a big project, a life-spanning career. We're talking about every single moment. There is always an option that contains even just the tiniest bit more excitement, attractiveness, curiosity than any other, that you have more capability of acting on than any other. So you may find that sometimes talking to a friend or reading a book or eating a meal or watching a film, any of the typical daily things that contains even just the tiniest bit more attractiveness or excitement is the one to do first. That's what we mean fundamentally by always act on your passion. And if you start on that level, on an everyday level, it can build up. It might snowball into bigger and bigger and bigger opportunities being presented to you that you can also act on, that might also be representative of your passion. But you don't have to make a bigger deal out of it than it needs to be at the beginning. So there doesn't need to be confusion, because it's just about choosing what seems more exciting than anything else and act on it to the best you can until you can act on it no further. That's all it means. Does that help start to clarify the concept?
I appreciate that, and it's something that I've been aware of, and I do get into a space where I ask myself, okay, what's the next most exciting thing?
All right, but I assume we're having this conversation because there are times when you choose to get out of that space. Why would that be?
There's times when I don't ask myself that question.
Why not?
I think when I do ask myself that question, sometimes the answer doesn't become apparent. I'm not sure which is the most exciting option. And I feel like I can overthink it perhaps. And
yes, many people on your planet do that, overthink it, overcomplicate it. Remember that if things seem equal in excitement or equal in your ability to act on them, you might as well then just flip a coin. And what I just said to the last person can apply to you. it doesn't then matter if all things appear equal, which one you take first. You might as well flip a coin. A, I'll go this way. B, I'll choose that. Because if that's not your path of least resistance, synchronicity will turn you around to the other path that is. You have to really understand how synchronicity works as a guiding and organizing principle in order to relax and let the flow happen naturally and let the signals and the messages from synchronicity be obvious. But if you overthink it, you're only going to confuse yourself, and you're going to blind yourself to what synchronicity is attempting to do to make it clearer as to which way to go and what to act on at any given moment. Is that helping?
That's helpful. Yes, thank you.
Is there a but at the end of that sentence?
Well, I mean, because excitement, as you've spoken about, can be an emotion. Many different emotions can be passion, can be love, can be
Yes.
A sense of calmness.
Yes.
So if we have different options which contain the different emotions,
Yes.
sometimes for me that can be hard to navigate.
I just explained that. I'll explain it again more clearly if you wish. You don't always, when you find something that seems more exciting than anything else, or things that seem equally exciting in different ways, you don't always have the same ability to act on them. That's another way to tell which one to act on first. But as I just said, if you do discover that 2 things or 3 things seem equally exciting, equally attractive, and you have the ability equally to act on any of them, then it doesn't matter which one you choose first, because if it's not the one that serves you best, synchronicity will create situations that turn you around to the one that is. So what difference does it make if you can't tell the difference, since synchronicity will actually be your compass needle to guide you? So why worry about it?
It was more a case of if something feels sort of nurturing to me, and maybe another option feels more exciting in a different way.
Yes.
Then
what's the difference? As long as you're clear as to why you feel the way you do based on your belief system, because we understand, I'm not saying this is the case with you, but just to explain, you say, well, one feels nurturing and one feels exciting. Either of those are fine, aren't they? Yes, no?
Yeah, that's true.
So what difference does it make? As long as you're clear that the idea you're now describing as nurturing isn't an avoidance. Do you understand? Because sometimes people will create the idea of, oh, well, this feels more nurturing, but what they're really doing is saying, I'm too scared to go the other way, so I'll choose the one that sort of feels safe to me. That's why you have to be very clear about what you believe in order to understand why you feel what you feel in any case, in any situation. So, fine, one choice seems nurturing, which is fine. Another seems more exciting, which is fine. Those can be equal things. But ask yourself, why does this feel nurturing? Why does this feel exciting? And in that investigation, you may find that there's enough of a difference for you to be able to make a choice more clearly. Because you may find that the nurturing is from an avoidance or something else that's a negative belief, and vice versa. So the idea is, when you clear yourself as to why you have the feelings you have, and if it turns out that both truly are from a natural state or expression of your passion, then again, we go back to, it doesn't matter which one you choose first, you might as well flip a coin. Does that help?
Okay. It does. Yeah, it does help. Thank you.
Yes. We're trying to simplify this for you.
Yeah, because there's basically an option in my life which, although it's not exciting, it provides a level of support which will mean I can then go on to do more exciting things potentially.
All right, but again, be careful, because what you just said sounds like you're saying, well, if I do this, I'll get that. That's not how you act on your excitement. You're making that conditional now in the way you just phrased it. Oh, I'll do this because it's going to get me somewhere else. That's not the reason to act on your excitement, and therefore that may be your first clue that that may not be the most exciting thing, because all you're talking about it is as a means to an end, and not the thing in and of itself that's exciting. Remember, excitement has to be acted on for its own sake purely, because that thing is exciting to you. So in other words, you have to be excited about feeling nurtured, not just use the idea of being in a nurtured space to get you somewhere else more exciting. You're making conditions there.
Yeah.
And you're invalidating the nurturing as nothing more than a means to an end and not a thing unto itself that you're actually excited about. Does that help clarify the choice?
Yeah, that helps me. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So, would you please be willing to describe your solar system?
Well, yes. You can find that to some degree also in the documentary that was done. But the idea is that we have a star like you do, which is called Shaw. And we are, like you, the third planet from the star. There is a small planet closer, another planet second. We are Ethithani, which is third. We are about 111 million of your miles from our star. Our year is longer than yours because our orbit is wider. Our day is about the same length, what you would call 24 hours, but our year is 454 days. Then there is a fourth planet, but then we have a large planet called Vamar, which is not in the ecliptic. In other words, its orbit goes like this, up and down, through the plane of our solar system. And then we have what might be referred to as a double planet, Chachupani. That has two planets that are gravitationally locked, orbiting each other, and in orbiting each other, they also go in an orbit around the star, dancing with each other, which is what Chachupani means, the dancers. That's a brief description of our solar system. But remember, we're in a parallel reality. You can't see our star from your reality. You would have to make a shift to our vibrational reality in order to see our solar system, in the same way that we have to shift to your vibrational reality in order to perceive your solar system physically. Does that help?
Yeah, that's great. Thank you. Okay. Thank you very much, Bashar, and much love to you guys.
And you as well. Good day.
Good day.
December 2019, you gave us a bit of a forecast into what 2020 was going to be like, and you said it was going to be nuts. And you gave us advice on how to navigate through. What would be your forecast for energies for 2021? Are things going to be more nuts, or are we going to see the great awakening and the shift happen this year?
As we have said, you are still going through the eye of the needle, probably to the end of 2023 or somewhere within that year before things really start to change. So the idea is to maintain the bubble of energy, the state of being that we have recently delivered to you, called high honesty, integrity, gratitude, and humility, that will carry you through while you're also, during this process, continuing to let go of those fear-based belief systems that may hold you back, that may not allow you to go through the passage of the eye of the needle as smoothly as you could. This is a transition time, and therefore take advantage of it to take the time, because once things really do start to accelerate toward more of the idea of awakening and open contact in and around or after 2023, then there won't necessarily be the same advantage of time that you have right now to take advantage of, to streamline yourself so that you can experience the changes that are going to happen in a more accelerated way after the eye of the needle passage in an easier, more effortless way. So take advantage of this time now to continue going through the process of letting go of those things that don't serve you.
And the second question is, the most popular question in this list of Ustream questions is asking for an energy reading of the rest of 2021. What beliefs are beneath that desire to know what is going to happen before it happens?
There can be both a positive and a negative aspect to this, the negative side being that you're not necessarily trusting the way things unfold. It's really more about focusing on your own state of being and knowing that if you focus on your own state of being, that it is where you prefer it to be, making the choices that you prefer that are in alignment with who you are, in your true self, your true essential self, then it won't really matter to you what it is that happens, because as we have said, it doesn't really matter what happens if you're in the proper state of being. You'll always be able to use it to your advantage. It'll only matter what you do with what happens, not about what happens in and of itself, because even if something happens that you might objectively observe is negative, it won't affect you negatively if you remain in the state of being that is representative of your preference. So the idea is that you're becoming more sensitive on the positive side to recognizing what it is ahead of time that you're setting up that might be more highly probable to manifest. And because you're becoming more aware of what it is that might happen, the idea, nevertheless, is to not become fixated on needing to know what will happen. So it's a balancing act, as usual, between becoming more sensitive to the idea of what might manifest when you make certain different kinds of choices, and not necessarily needing to know exactly what will manifest, so that you can leave some leeway for your higher mind and synchronicity to bring you what you need in the form in which you truly need it that will serve you best, so that you don't become too fixated and insistent on what that form needs to actually look like. So again, a combination of beginning to become more sensitive about knowing what it is that's more likely to happen because of your state of being, and also not necessarily insisting that it has to happen exactly as you might imagine it at this moment.
Thank you.
Yes.
What is creating the phenomenon we're experiencing now on Earth, where it is so hard to discern what is true from what is false?
Well, the only reason that that would be difficult is because most people are not necessarily exercising what you might typically refer to as common sense. The idea is there are things that can be presented in such an exaggerated way that you would, in a normal common sense situation, take a step back and ask yourself whether or not what you're being presented with has a high degree or a low degree of probability of being accurate. So the idea is to always maintain your balance, your center, and view things that are presented to you in a way that allows you to know what is really being presented in an extreme manner and what is closer to the idea of a centered, balanced point of view, and what is really highly probable or less likely to be probable. In other words, what is really more likely or less likely to be true in your language. The idea is to exercise that common sense by coming from a more balanced state, which gives you better ability, better discernment to tell the difference between what in a sense really serves you and what might be representative of something that is outside the parameters of the reality that you prefer.
And this is sort of a continuation where the person is saying, if I'm confused whether I should keep seeking and searching for truth through the internet about what's going on, and especially during this critical time in world events, I think I resonate with, but I'm not sure. And then sometimes I get so disturbed by some of the fake or manipulative information. I'm wondering, is my ego driving this? Should I just stop searching and getting information from the internet and just let everything go?
Well, again, as many of you know, the way that your internet works is that whatever it is you do focus on for even a little while will activate certain algorithms that will continue to present you with that kind of information, and therefore it can reinforce whatever it is you've already been searching for, whether it's positive or negative. So the idea is to, again, be aware of the fact that that happens. It doesn't mean you have to stop listening to any input, but be aware that things are being tailored to what it is you may have already started searching for, so that you can again take a little bit of a step back and really ask yourself, no matter what information you're presented with, how likely is this to be accurate? So the idea again is that, remember, you can only perceive what you're the vibration of. So every chance you get, step back, go into a neutral state, a balanced state, a central state, and then you can be more capable of discerning whatever it is you just heard or listened to or saw as to whether it fits the parameters of the vibrational state you're in as a more centered being. You'll be able to tell as you practice constantly going back into the centered state, no matter what it is you're listening to, as to whether what you just heard really fits that central balanced state or not.
And then this individual says that it asks, is it necessary to see dark forces like evil in order to ascend to higher consciousness? This person has delved into conspiracy theories because it just looks like it's there in his timeline. And I know there's a split, but what if my observation of negativity hinders my path of what I prefer? Do I pray for these dark forces to have the option to choose light? I don't want to get sucked into a bad timeline of being controlled because I'm fearful and I'm observing it.
As we have often said, just because you can observe it doesn't mean you're in that reality. And just because you can observe it doesn't mean that it affects you, because you're the one that decides what affects you with your belief system. The very idea that you're worried that you might, as you say, get sucked into it is part of the negative vibrational energy that a negative reality would want you to buy into. So the idea is, don't buy into the idea that an observation is an automatic entrainment. If you, again, stay balanced and centered with what you know is true for you, you will realize that as you expand your consciousness, you're not going to become less aware of the potential for negative choices. You'll become more aware of the potential for negative choices, but you'll also understand that it's nothing more than a potential. It doesn't affect you until you actually choose it. Now, if you feel like you're out of touch with your belief systems, that many of the fear-based belief systems within you are unconscious, and that those unconscious beliefs may in some way get you to choose those negative things without you knowing what you're doing, well, again, remember that if you're constantly checking in with yourself, then you will course correct as you go. The people that get caught up deeply in the idea of fear-based realities and negative conspiracy theories are usually the ones that don't bother to check in with themselves as to whether they're getting caught up in it. So as long as you're constantly going back to center and checking within yourself to say, does this really resonate with me? And this central position in this balanced point of view, does this really resonate with me or does it not? As long as you keep checking in, you will course correct. You will make decisions then that won't matter what it is you're seeing. You will know whether it fits you or not more clearly by coming from that balanced state and by constantly checking yourself to make sure that you are course correcting. Again, the people that simply fall, as you say, head over heels or hook, line, and sinker into things that are not necessarily in alignment with who they truly are, never really stop to bother and check themselves to see whether or not they're going too far in one direction or another. But everything contains positive and negative energy on every level. So as you expand, you'll become more aware of the negative as well as the positive, but you'll also become more aware that you can choose what you prefer without invalidating what you don't.
Expanding on that, this individual says, I'm seeing more and more control methods. Some I knew as a child, at least it was from my perspective. Does this mean I just have to heal within? If I see control mechanisms outside of me, do I have an issue with control inside me? And if so, how do I heal that? I've tried changing my beliefs, but I'm still seeing control mechanisms.
Then if you are changing your beliefs, and still see other people creating control mechanisms, then why not just assume it's a neutral observation as opposed to falling into the worry that somehow it's going to affect you or going to be representative that you might still have negative fear-based beliefs within you. Again, you have the choice to always make sure you're clear within yourself, but just because you're clear within yourself, remember that you are in a time and place of transformation on your planet where just because you might be clearer doesn't mean you're going to immediately stop seeing other people making choices that are vibrationally incompatible with you. This is going to continue for a little while. Eventually, in the years down the road, you will generally no longer perceive things or people that are making choices that are not compatible with the reality that you've chosen. But that's not going to happen for a little while because you have to practice getting used to the idea in this transformational age of being capable of seeing things that are not your preference and learning to not react to them, learning not to take it personally, learning not to assume that there's something going on within you all the time. Again, in honesty, you always have the opportunity to check within yourself and say, well, is this something about my own belief system? Or is this simply my ability to neutrally observe that other people are choosing things that I don't prefer? Again, the more you practice being in the center and in balance, you'll have eventually the discernment to tell the difference as to whether it's your issue or their issue. And if you understand it's simply their issue, then you're doing nothing more than observing someone else. And by being a living example of being your true self, then you, yes, are giving them an opportunity to see, in looking at you, the possibility that they might be more capable of choosing the option to be more of themselves. Not that they have to, but the idea is the more you're centered within your own being and understand that your observations aren't immediately to be assumed to affect you in any way, shape, or form that you don't choose to be affected by, then you can become an example to give them, with your compassion, an opportunity in seeing you and maybe making choices that might be more positive for them. But you can't insist that they do so, and you can't assume that just because you can see them that there's something wrong going on within you.
Now, what is the mission from your perspective? I'd love to hear this answer. I heard from my beloved teacher, Darryl Melchizedek. He says once that the Hebrew wrote the Bible from the future, even the Torah from the future, and also that they came from out of this planet. And I've been hearing so many interesting things and different types of versions. And I really love to hear, to have much more light about this very important topic for me. So if you can please shine your loving light upon this, that's my question. I want to say thank you very much, dear Bashar, for all that you do. Toda, Shivai, and Shalom. God bless.
This is a very complex question with an answer that we cannot go into in great detail at this time. We will give you this and this only today. The original idea, of course, always, as everything, goes back to the Anunnaki, comes through the idea of Atlantis, genetically speaking, maintained more to a high degree of some of the Anunnaki genetics in Atlantis, came into the idea of Egypt, utilizing some of the Atlantean awareness, and went through Egypt and came out into what you now call the Middle East, still bearing strong extraterrestrial connections because of the genetic makeup that connects them to the original Anunnaki. In a sense, it is a preservation of those original genetics that can be spread around the world in a way that will allow for a greater sense of the opening of those markers genetically within many people, because there is now a high degree of mixture among all humans, that those genetics were preserved in the way that they were by leading certain groups from Atlantis through Egypt into the Middle East, spreading out from there in a variety of ways. This affords more opportunity for the idea of the hybridization agenda to succeed, and also more opportunity for the human race to evolve to its next phase as the sixth hybrid race. 6, as above, so below, the Jewish star. That is the answer we can give today.
Hi.
And good day.
A number of years ago, I had an experience. I was researching some sightings in Mexico, and I went to go turn my light off. And as I did that, I saw out my window 2 humanoid beings. I approached, and there was they were female appearing, blonde hair, sharp features. And as I walked towards the window, one of them reached their arms through the glass, grabbed my arm, and then we sort of shot up. I remember saying to myself that I wasn't ready, and then fell back into my bed.
All right.
So since then, I've had a couple of smaller experiences, and I've begun to connect in different ways and channel a little bit, like, or interpret something. So
Yes.
specifically, I wanted to know how to get into contact with them, but those two beings and what exactly they were. I have some concept, but
They were a type of hybrid.
What's that?
Type of hybrid.
Okay. Which type?
We're not allowed to discuss that exactly yet.
Okay. All right. That makes sense. But then how to better get in contact in general, but then being able to like hone in specifically on that energy and get into contact with that.
Well, as you drift off to sleep and relax, by remembering that incident and at the same time feeling the energy you felt, feeling how you felt at that moment when that was happening, visualizing it, and asking for more conscious recognition on your own terms to participate with them, you might be able to invite them back. I'm not saying it's an absolute, but you might be able to do that, and at the very least, by remembering how that felt as you're drifting off, as you're relaxing your conscious mind, at the very least, you might open yourself up to other beings who are willing to interact with you at that particular moment. But again, remember, put it out there that you are willing to interact, take responsibility for your part in it, and that you would prefer to interact on your own terms.
Okay, that makes sense. And as far as like how we can like adjust our physical body to best like get ourselves like conducive or
follow the formula.
Continuously follow the formula.
As you follow the formula, as you act on your passion, what are you doing? You're raising your frequency. As you raise your frequency, what are you doing? You're making yourself a better and more receptive antenna to higher frequency energies and dimensions of reality. So it's automatically built into the formula that you would be more open by acting on your passion to interactions with other beings who are already operating on such a level.
Even down to like the physical components of like what to eat and sleep, like sleeping patterns and things like that.
Everything will match the idea of your natural biological rhythms when you are in sync with yourself, which is what following the formula will help you do.
Okay, that makes sense. Aside from like the purely like psychosomatic parts of it, like the idea of like our own consciousness and subconsciousness being the actual results of like our physical body, is there any like effect of like healing energies or like healing philosophies like Reiki that like from my understanding were used by like previous masters?
Oh yes, absolutely.
Okay. Just in the power of like, from what I'm understanding, it's like almost like a collective energy that they're like tapping into and like becoming a vessel.
Some of them do it that way, yes. But again, please always remember, a healer is only giving off a vibration that the person requiring the healing needs to match in order to heal themselves.
Sure, but there's still a lot of validity to the actual like tapping into and channeling of that vibration so that another person that might not like otherwise be aware of it is aware of it.
Yes, you become a conduit and an example of what might be more probable.
Okay, so it's really like the example is in that sense like through the mere like resonating of a frequency.
Yes, which goes hand in hand with you being in the vibration of your passion and the commensurate actions you take that go along with it that make you a living example of that frequency. So in a sense, by acting on your passion, you become a conduit that increases the probability of the existence and exposure to those frequencies to give more people more opportunity to match those frequencies.
Okay, I get it. It's almost like a spilling over effect that once there's more, it can become more over to that.
Yes, you increase the probability, you give them more opportunities to choose that by making them aware that such a thing exists, at least on some level of their consciousness.
So you could say that like one of those like previous masters or like these like Tibetan monks who used it and things like that, they just became a conduit of very high probability.
Exactly.
To take them.
Exactly.
Okay. So much so that they could even like imbue sort of like an object through the mere like suggestion of it, like, hey, carry.
Permission slips can be part of the process if that's what works for different belief systems. You see, what we're describing to you here is exactly what happens on our world when we say we operate in pure synchronism, and that there can be not a government, but an organizing body that chooses to function in a way that increases the probability for all of us of experiencing synchronism.
Gotcha.
So that's
So,
what
like,
we're talking about.
So like meeting basic survival needs would be a very easy, accessible thing to increase probability for
The
a whole.
7 basic needs that you need to thrive as a physical being are automatically met, and they're included in the idea of acting on the formula as well.
Okay.
Synchronicity is the organizing and guiding principle that will attract everything you need if you don't get in the way.
So really, we don't necessarily need to even like know all the different aspects of it, but just follow
Correct.
synchronicity and passion.
Yes, because it's going to bring you what works for you. Because why would it bring you something that wouldn't work for you unless you have asked it to?
Sure, yeah. And then, like, not to say that doesn't happen with like sloppy thinking, but as far as like the specific belief systems and specific ideologies to get through that sort of, we are just delivered to you in that synchronicity.
When you are within alignment in your belief system and being your true self, everything that is germane and relevant for that true self can do nothing but manifest in perfect timing.
Sure. Okay.
You can only experience the vibration you put out. You cannot experience a vibration you're not putting out.
So, and then to the converse of that, if you experience anything else, then you must be putting out a vibration.
Correct. And that's the self-correcting mechanism. If you get a reflection you don't prefer, that's not an invalidation. It's just an objective observation. Then the question is, what are my beliefs that are generating this kind of reflection? And by staying in a positive state, you can use what you don't prefer in a way that you do by learning the lesson of why it's there, because there's got to be a reason that it happened.
Sure. Is it always necessarily like a direct reflection that?
No. As we have said, especially interacting with other people, it's not always a one-to-one reflection just because they're in your life and they may be somebody that's not necessarily vibrationally completely compatible with you, but you may be willing to be a vibrational conduit for them to get out of that whatever they needed by showing up in your life.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yes, I know. That's why I said it.
Fair. Well, thank you very much.
You are very welcome. Good day.
Good day.
Aveo, Bashar. And thank you for your high vibrational formula. Where does love figure into that equation? Thank you.
Love is the vibration of existence itself. Unconditional love is how you translate the vibration of existence itself. And therefore, the formula being that it helps you raise your vibration to be more compatible vibrationally with the frequency of existence itself is something that permeates the entirety of the formula.
Hello there, hello Bashar. My name is Benny. I'm from Portugal and France. I have a question about existence. There is something that I don't quite understand, which is how can existence be unaware of itself? If we eventually all go back to the source at some point, how can this part of all there is, which is aware of itself, at some point become unaware of itself when she goes back to the source? Thank you. Bye, Bashar.
You're thinking linearly. You don't go back to a source. And the idea of the portion of the one and all that is exists simultaneously. The idea of the one that isn't aware of itself exists simultaneously with the expression of the one that is aware of itself. That's why we refer to it differently as all that is. But you don't go back to it in the linear sense. I understand what you mean by the question, but that's not exactly how it works mechanically speaking. You can raise your vibration. You can become your version of all that is. But the idea is that because you are a reflection and self-aware, you never actually become unaware. You are representative of the portion of the one that is aware. It's just that the portion that is not aware also exists simultaneously with the portion that is. Therefore, you do exhibit both, but you will never be aware of the portion of yourself that is unaware of itself. So why bother to focus on it?
Hi, Bashar.
And to you, good day.
Good day. So I kind of want to start with like a deep dive.
Go as deep as you wish.
Thank you. Okay, so linearly speaking, I know that there is no linear time, but yet here.
Well, there is an experience of linear time, but time itself, yes, is a created side effect.
Okay. And what I've been processing the past few days has been some old layers surfacing related to having sexual encounters.
Yes.
But
remember, they're not old in and of themselves. You're simply recreating them in the present.
Okay.
For whatever reasons you believe you need to.
Okay. And I feel like one of the reasons why I need to is because I feel like I want to, on some level, be of service to other women and people who have had experiences. And
how would you like to go about doing that?
In a fun way, in a
all right. Well, is your imagination up to the task?
Yes.
All right. So what's the issue?
I think sometimes I get maybe too insistent on, like, I guess I just want to be sure I'm coming at this from like the right angle. And
all right. Well, as long as you are concerned that you might not be coming at it from the right angle, you will probably continue to course correct yourself.
Okay. That's helpful.
Yes. Because people, in a sense, that continuously don't necessarily come at it from a positive angle usually never think about course correcting themselves. They simply think they're right. And that's where the insistence comes from.
Okay.
They think they know better than someone else what someone else's life path has to be. So as long as you understand that you're here to be of service by sharing what it is you wish to share that is representative of your passion, doing it in the way that's exciting and fun for you and helpful, other people will pick up on it to whatever degree they need to. But what other people do with what you have to share is none of your business.
Okay.
Because you don't know what they need and what they don't need at this particular moment. They'll ultimately take care of themselves, but you have already helped them by at least giving them an option. They don't have to choose it, but now that they're aware of it, they might incorporate it at some point in their lives, sooner or later, but that really doesn't matter because that's up to them. You have helped just by providing information that you believe is helpful from your point of view. And that's why you don't need to be insistent about it, because you know that everyone is fundamentally an eternal, infinite being. There's no hurry. They'll get the idea somewhere along the line.
Yeah.
So, what's your rush?
Right. Oh, I love that. Thank you.
You're welcome. Just be of help. That's all you can do.
Okay. That feels really good.
Remember, you will attract the audience for whom your particular help works. You will never attract the audience for whom it doesn't.
Okay.
So why, as you say, why sweat it?
Yeah. Oh, I like that. Oh, that's a good hint. Thank you.
You're welcome. We love giving hints. Anything else?
Yeah. So this is okay. So I recently had an experience of being in multiple places at once and in multiple states at once.
How exciting.
It was really exciting and I really loved it. And in the midst of this experience, I was having a challenging conversation with someone that I love. And
yes.
I
So
learned
you
a
stretched
lot.
yourself out to connect to other things more consciously so you could bring that information and experience to bear in your conversation?
Yes.
All
Yes.
right.
Yeah.
Good for you.
Thank you. And in the midst of the challenge, I asked my guides, because I was feeling kind of frustrated with this challenge in the moment. And I asked my guides, why am I experiencing this challenge? And you just told me. And also, they said something along the lines of, you're experiencing a soul fracture. And I know that the soul can't be fractured, but I wanted to get your take on that.
Well, yes, again, you had certain preconceived notions that you needed to divest yourself of. And so you had to sort of, well, create an experience that I suppose euphemistically could be called a soul fracture. Not, again, as you say, that the soul can be fractured per se. But you can create an experience as if it is, so that you can start to view yourself in all the different compartments you may have created within your consciousness that hold contradictory and different belief systems that don't necessarily work together, so that you could see those contradictions, bring yourself back together more holistically to move forward from that point.
Beautiful. Yes. And as
It's
you read my energy,
looking into a hall of mirrors and seeing a multitude of reflections, and the reflections each reminding you that you're the source of all the reflections, so you can come back into the center in a more holistic and unified way.
yeah.
So it's not that the soul is fracturing in the literal physical sense. It's more the idea that the illusion created makes it appear, makes all the different ideas within you appear to be separated for a moment, so you can see them individually more clearly and take an assessment of which ones work for you to remain the way they are, or whether you wish to change the frequency of any of the reflections so that you can function more holistically in a more integrated way.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. Thank you. Ha'atu.
Aveo.
Hello, Bashar. My name is Vili and I come from Slovenia. Around 6 years ago, I went through a breakup in which I received help from many different beings, including you, so I would like to thank you for that. One of those beings came to me in my dreams and sang me a very beautiful song. This being was a woman, spirit woman with a yellow energy, so I would like to know who was that. Also, I would like to know to which star systems am I connected to. Thank you very much. I love you. Goodbye.
It was a guide. There are some extraterrestrial connections that you have to Sirius, to Pleiades, and a few other things, but that's what we'll give you for now. Pleasant dreams.
Hello, Bashar. First, let me thank you. Thank you a lot for all the teachings and all the transmissions and the wisdom that you shared with us. My passion, my excitement is all about music, frequency, singing. I'm really passionate about using my voice and also helping others to use theirs. At the moment, I have committed to learning lucid dreaming, and I'm working on a mantra soundscape type of structure thing. I have written a melody and lyrics, and now I'm looking for a specific pitch, a frequency basis for this piece to be performed on. The idea is that I will record it and then it should be used to fall asleep. So primarily I do it for myself, but I hope to be able to share it if it's effective for more people. And so while falling asleep, I would like to pick the best frequency to induce lucid dreaming. So I hope you can give me some guidance with possibly a specific frequency, or maybe some feedback on this process I'm doing. Thank you, and my unconditional love to you.
A combination of the Schumann resonance, 7.85 cycles per second, along in combination with middle C will help you. 440 hertz.